Quick Hits.
It's time for Hobby Quick Hits. Hobby Quick Hits. A sports card podcast where we tackle the hobby's hottest topics in depth to help you navigate the sports card landscape and enjoy the hobby we all love. Here's your host, John Newman.
All right, before we start this episode of Hobby Quick Hits, let's hear from our sponsors who make this show possible, Mojo Break. Hey folks, wanted to tell you about the best place to get some of your sealed sports card wax products. Great selection and some of the lowest prices on the web. MojoBreakShop.com is that place. Whether it's a box or a whole case, they're your guys, and they ship around the world right to your door. The Mojo Break name is one of the most trusted in the hobby. From sports cards to Pokemon, their selection can't be beat. They offer daily deals and pre-orders. Who won first place at this year's Topps Rip Party? None other than Mojo Break. Their prices are already great, but here's a way to save even more money. Use the code QUICKHITS, that's QUICKHITS, for 10% off anything on MojoBreakShop.com. They also have a full-service card shop in Santa Clara, California. So if you're in the area, stop by. They're open 7 days a week, so check them out at MojoBreakShop.com. All right, glad to be back here on our normal Monday time slot, or day, I should say. Last week we released a day early. I don't know, some kind of big news happened. Matter of fact, this episode you're hearing right now was supposed to be released last Monday. And then some news happened with Fanatics, Topps, Major League Baseball, Players Association. Then I went to basketball and soon to be football. And so I put out that episode, just the timing of it had to go first. And so this got bumped a week, but I'm not going to ignore it. And it's something, you know, as someone who tries to do things above board, do things the right way, be fair and honest with people, even if that's telling the truth when the truth is not always good or great or nice. I believe in that. And so I have to address it. It's a big story in its own right. It obviously got bumped because of the Topps Fanatics blockbuster, probably much to the excitement of one of the plaintiffs, if you will, in this matter, and that's PWCC. Couldn't have scripted any better. Kind of took a little bit of the heat off of them. And, we had the whole PWCC auction platform, vault, high-end seller, if you will, and eBay. And eBay making the decision to boot them off the site and citing shill bidding as the reason. Now, before we get into all the details and what's been alleged and all that, I wanna be very transparent. This is not the first time PWCC's been accused of what they're being accused here in 2021. We may remember, if you were in the hobby, back before the 2019 National, the same thing happened then. There were some emails and texts. I went on this very show back then. We were definitely a younger show. And I went on that show and I basically said, allegedly, if this is true, there should be fines, repercussions, maybe even arrests, penalties, and we got to clean that up. And a person from that organization contacted me, wanted to come on the show, and basically categorically denied everything that I said was being alleged. And I said, I believe in equal time. Come on the show. I'll give you all the time you want. We could go 4 hours with you talking for 3. They said they'd think about it. The next day, I was sort of posed sort of a list of questions they wanted to be asked. If you know anything about me, folks, especially now with more experience, more chops under my belt, I don't operate under those terms. If I say something on the show and it's alleged and you want equal time to come on and defend yourself or what's being accused, I believe in that. If someone went on and said something about me and it's not true, I want to be able to go on that show or podcast or whatever and be asked any question and also defend myself. So when those questions, that list of questions that I could ask was given to me, I said, no, no one writes the script for the show. I ask the question. If you are innocent, right, you should be able to answer any questions, right? If I'm innocent, ask me anything. I can explain why it's not the case or how it's untrue. So, needless to say, that interview did not take place. So, let's go to current times. Here it is again, rears its ugly head. However, let's go before the story broke with eBay's decision. That very morning, and this is again before the story broke, very transparent here. Many of these places, and in PWCC's defense, many of these big businesses, corporations, now employ publicists, right? People who kind of handle all their bookings, reach out to shows. I've dealt more with publicists in the last year on this show than ever before, and most of them are wonderful people, very polite, unassuming, just doing their job, and nothing wrong with it. These are big companies that don't have time to do all this stuff, and so they delegate it to a publicist, and it doesn't mean anything either way, good or bad. Some use them, a lot more do, some don't. Whatever, that's the company's decision. So, on the morning before the latest story broke, PWCC's publicist reached out to me. I won't name them, it doesn't matter. And I know they reached out to a lot of shows. It's not just my show, and wanting to come on and talk about some exciting things that were happening at PWCC. I get it. They want to promote. Most people who come on shows want to promote. Nothing wrong with that. That's the nature of the beast. Comes with the territory. And I would love to have them on. And my return answer was, hey, love to have them on, but one or two questions are going to have to be asked about prior alleged indiscretions. They came back and said, we have nothing to say on that front. And I said, well, if the whole interview was obviously not going to be about that. Anyone, if you've listened to this show at any length, I talk about everything. For example, I had Beckett's Jeremy Murray on, a very transparent individual. I asked him some tough things that listeners would want to know answers for, and he was very upfront and answered them. The whole interview wasn't that. We talked about great things, their plans for the National, their new product lines, things coming up the Turnpike, and was a very good conversation. And I can tell you, in meeting Jeremy at the National and talking to him off the air, even since that airing, we have a good relationship, and he gave me many compliments that were very nice in relative to other interviews he's done. And so I try to be very fair, but I do have to ask questions that people want to know answers for. That's part of a talk show, a podcast. And so my last email to them was, hey, if you don't mind answering one, if you change your mind on answering one or two questions pertaining to 2019 allegations, we'll talk about everything. Come on, we'll love to have someone on the show. And I got not at this time. Okay, and that's their right. Doesn't make them bad, right? But again, I'm not going to script. I'm not going to have someone else script. Matter of fact, I don't even script much of my show. Many of the questions you hear are just conversation off the cuff, based on maybe writing 1, 2, 3 questions down and then playing off of those. That's 100% true. That's generally how I do any interviews or conversations I had. And so No response to my last offer, to ask one or two of those questions. And literally 3 hours later, that eBay story broke. Talk about timing. I didn't email him back and say, hey, I want to come and, I'm not rub salt in the wound. What good does that do? It's pretty middle schoolish. I don't have to do that. But what I do have to do is talk about hobby events and current events. Will I be opinionated? Sure. Will I be fair? Yes, I will. And so that story broke. And if you read the eBay statement, one thing I kind of went on social media and I said, to make that decision and accuse a company of doing that or its associates, you must have evidence. Because if you don't, with libel and slander laws and defamation of character, you got to be careful what you make known to the world and say about an organization or a company. And that was very strongly worded. And I got to imagine, I don't know for sure, but I got to imagine some of eBay's lawyers proofread that. Maybe that wasn't even the first draft. Maybe they redid it a few times until a lawyer finally gave its 2 thumbs up to be released. Again, all speculation. I don't know. But I do work in the corporate world, and I do know how certain things like this do work in general. And so I got to think if they're going to come out with a statement like that, there's got to be some proof in their pudding. Again, track record, right? Track record, I think, speaks volumes, right? We're human, right? People make a mistake. But when you start being accused of making similar mistakes, it might be who you are as a company, who you are as an individual. Okay? I'll just leave it at that. And we've heard some other things. Now, the timing of it in PWCC's defense, and again, I'm trying to be fully transparent and fair here. In PWCC's defense, the timing of this is striking too, because PWCC was about to launch their own platform. If you want to call it direct competition with eBay, I don't really see it that way. I think eBay is the industry leader in auction sales in the hobby. Most eyes are going to be on eBay than any other platform. Golden, PWCC, Heritage, what have you. They're the world's marketplace in auctions. Whether you do business with eBay, you like what they do. Heck, I've been critical on some of their policies too, but you can't take away the title that they've earned, and they've earned it over the course of many years. So, I read things. This hurts eBay more than PWCC. No, I think both parties are going to lose, but I think eBay can afford to lose more than PWCC. I know they just had an auction that was very successful. Kudos to them. They're not going away. Listen, what happened in 2019, right? I was at that national. That was actually my first national. That their setup was eerie, because it was almost like they had like a do not go near them. Like their booth was very not attended, I guess in wrong English to say. There was very few people there around. I remember someone posted a picture with like the staff just kind of sitting there with odd looks on their face. It was, if a picture could tell, a picture could tell 1,000 words. That was it. And I remember even coming on the show like, man, they're going to have a hard time surviving this based on what I saw at the National. Hey, I was wrong. They're not surviving. They were thriving. Now this happens. They're not going away. They're not going out of business. I'm not going to say that again, because they have a stronger presence now, even after that, than they ever did. They're going to still do very well, as evidenced by this past weekend's auction. But, we all have choices as consumers, right? We read reviews, right? Consumer reports, Amazon reviews when we're looking at a product to buy, whether it be a vacuum cleaner or a pool filter, or whatever, right? We read reviews. We read what other people are saying about the company or the individual product. And, those reviews I'm reading, those emails and texts that I have seen, regardless whether you want to argue they're legitimate, fake, whatever, there's just so much evidence they're not going to be someone I do business with. Now, that's also a different level. That's a very high end. I might not be doing business with them, full disclosure anyway. But if I was in that space more, they would not be someone and I'm only speaking for myself here, folks, I would do business with. The timing of eBay's announcement, sure, it's odd. But again, we don't know all the details behind the scenes. Let's play devil's advocate here, right? Who's to say it didn't happen before that and eBay just quietly behind the scenes just warned PWCC, hey, we know you're doing this. Here's your warning. Knock it off. If it happens again, we're booting you from our platform. And then maybe whatever time period it happened again, and eBay said, see, well, we told you, you did it again, you're done. Right? We don't know all those details. Those were not in the statement. So there's more wrinkles to the story. Obviously, both companies, at the end of the day, eBay, PWCC, they're both going to survive and thrive in their own right. But again, it comes down to, as a consumer, I have choices to make, based on things I believe, right? We're entitled to our opinions, our beliefs. I have those. You have those. And we have reactions to those, and we make decisions based on those feelings. And I do, and I will. I don't like everything eBay does. That's probably why I don't have everything I have on eBay. I use other platforms as well for certain other things. So I have very little graded cards now on eBay. I use my slabs. So again, in the act of full transparency, I like to be very transparent and honest there. I do that, right? So it's just another one of those stories that's sort of a black eye on the hobby. Now, for every one of these stories, folks, there's 100 good ones. We all know that this hobby is a wonderful, fun experience, or at least it should be for you. And this story is not going to derail my fun or my hobby, but is 3 or 4 years now into content creation. I don't want to say I have to talk about it. I don't have to talk about it. I mean, no gun to my head, but I don't believe in gatekeepers either. I don't think it's any one person. I think collectively, as a hobby, if you do the right things and do things above board and educate and teach and learn, that's in a way being a gatekeeper, an ambassador, an advocate of the hobby. But I had to talk about it. It's a huge story, like it or not. The timing of the Topps Fanatics thing kind of pushed it to the sideline and pushed us back a week even on this very program. Someone asked me who needs who more. Again, both companies are going to survive and thrive, but PWCC would need eBay more than eBay would need PWCC. I think there'll be someone that steps right into that role that PWCC had, just waiting, chomping at their bit to fill that void. And believe me, there will be somebody else to do that. Someone asked me, John, could this be the start of the downfall of the hobby, these kind of negative trust stories? Now, I think the hobby's way too strong for 1 or 2 or even 3 of these stories to be the downfall. Remember, especially with this PWCC case, these are really, really expensive high-end cards that 90% of us don't really partake in for the most part, at least on a regular basis, if you will. And so for most hobbyists, this is just, okay, type of deal. But I've been in this hobby a long time. I feel the urgency to discuss it on the show. If anyone from, full disclosure, if anyone from PWCC or frankly even eBay is listening and doesn't agree with any of my assessments or takes, and you want equal time, I believe in equal time. But I also believe in being able to ask any questions. If I'm giving you equal time, I should be able to ask questions in a respectful and tactful way, not rude. I'm not going to make it personal. I'm not going to name call you. I'm going to just ask you, hey, this is being reported. What say you? What about this email? What about this text? How did that happen? Respectful, non-confrontational, direct questions. And if you're innocent, you should be able to answer them. And I'll give you, I don't care if that person comes on and wants to take 2 hours and take 2 hours answering them. If I got to do 2-part show or 3-part show or just make one big long show, so be it. I believe in equal time. If someone says something about me, I want to be able to, and it's not true, I like to be able to defend myself. I believe in that. I was raised that way. So, to PWCC, to eBay, or anyone else for that matter, if you feel I've said something that you now agree with or I'm dead wrong on, and you want to come on either this show, Sports Card Nation, Hobby Hotline, Breaking Cardboard, whatever platform you want to have your say and your due diligence, please reach out to me. My text is all over the place. Here's my personal phone number, 315-491-0239. You can text me. You can call me. We can set it up. I'm very fair. I pride myself on that. Well, that's a good point to wrap up today's show. I'll just say this. A lot of great places out there, organizations, businesses. Do your due diligence, be careful, and enjoy the hobby. We'll see you Friday on Sports Card Nation, and we'll see you a week from now on another Hobby Quick Hits. Thanks, everyone. Take care. All right, thank you for listening to another episode of Hobby Quick Hits. Want to give out our social media, starting with our website, which is www.sportscardnationpodcast.com. Facebook, you can follow us at www.facebook.com/sportscardnationpodcast/. Twitter, we are at SportsCardNati1, so it's SportsCard NATI1. Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast, or you can email the show hobbyquickhits@gmail.com. Again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.